I recognise the honourable member, Dr Paul Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr Chair.
You're welcome.
It's indeed a great pleasure to speak on these estimates in Vote Health, because this year the National Government has committed to an investment in Vote Health of $15.6 billion, an all-time record. Mr Chair, National has indeed managed to achieve an increase in productivity and an increase in outputs over the last 5 years. What is really important to realise in health is that right around the world there is almost infinite demand and finite resources. And in stark contrast to the National Government's achievements, the previous government failed on all accounts. They doubled the health expenditure, decreased outputs, and indeed decreased productivity. If indeed Labour's spending record had continued at year-on-year 8% increase, by a few decades' time, the entire Vote Health would make up 60% of the entire government spend. It was absolutely unsustainable along that trajectory. So it is a great worry when I hear Annette King once again shroud-waving about the achievements of the previous Labour government in this area. Just to remind you, Mr Chair, double the expenditure, decreased productivity and decreased expenditure. Yes, she was. She was saying that they'd achieved a lot. She is saying that it wasn't their fault, the Labour government's fault, that women were heading to Australia for radiation therapy. Once again, she showed the absolute inability of the previous Labour government to be realistic about sustaining a value-for-dollar health system. But the record of the National Government over the last 5 years has been 40,000 more elective surgery outputs per year since 2008, and I would like Barbara Stewart to take note of that. There have been 1,000 more doctors and 3,000 more nurses. So we have Annette King talking about a health workforce. For the first time in the history of New Zealand, there have been more medical graduates available than there are jobs in the resident hospital training programs available in New Zealand. This is an incredible achievement. But, Mr Chair, the reality is that workforce planning is extremely difficult because international conditions change. Australia has indeed trained a huge amount more of doctors, and now New Zealand doctors are wanting to stay here. There is still a great attractiveness to doctors from Britain and Canada and South Africa to come to New Zealand. But, Mr Speaker, one of the clear focuses of the national government has been the introduction of taxpayer-funded or free access to children under 13 to GP care. And it was good to hear Barbara Stewart saying what a great national government for introducing this policy. Mr Chair, at the beginning of this year, David Cunliffe, with a flare of trumpets and sirens, announced a $1 billion package of unmitigated baby bribe, non-directed, untargeted baby bonus. Mr Speaker, this was a clear example of a government and a leader who has no cognizance whatsoever of making sure that every health dollar counts. In contrast, in this budget, the national government announced a very well-directed, very practical family and children package, and amongst it, of course, was the free access $90 million that would go towards ensuring that children from right around New Zealand would be able to access primary care, keeping them out of hospitals, keeping them well, comforting their parents.
Chair.
I call the honourable member Young Jan. Ni hao ma.